The year was 2431, and humanity had spread far into space. Colonies existed on moons, planets, and even inside hollowed asteroids. But with growth came danger, and Earth had learned to protect itself. The pride of humanity was its fleet of warships, massive steel giants built after centuries of conflict and hardened by endless wars. These ships were not made only for defense. They were symbols, reminders that humanity was no longer weak or vulnerable. On a quiet night in the orbital command station above Earth, a signal arrived. It was faint at first, like a whisper hidden in the background of stars. The technicians thought it was just static, but soon the computers began to decode strange patterns inside it. Admiral Vera Holt, commander of the fleet, was called to the control room. She was a tall woman, calm but sharp-eyed, known for her ability to see opportunity even in chaos. "What do we have?" she asked, her voice steady. A young officer turned, his face pale with disbelief. "Admiral, it's not just noise. This signal carries structure. It carries language." At first, no one believed it. But as the message unraveled, the truth became clear. Inside the transmission were fragments of old Earth languages, words no alien should know. There were also patterns of human DNA, encrypted as if to prove that the sender understood who they were calling. The room fell silent. Questions filled the air. Why would someone out there know human DNA? Why would they use Earth languages in their call for help? The Council of Earth gathered quickly. Leaders debated through the night. Some argued it was a trap, set by hostile alien powers who had been watching humanity's rise. Others believed it was genuine, that somewhere across the stars someone was in desperate need of help. Admiral Holt listened to all sides but said little. At last, when the debate reached a pause, she spoke. "Whatever this is, it cannot be ignored. If it is a trap, we are strong enough to face it. And if it is a true cry for help, then we may be the only ones able to answer." Her words carried weight. The Council voted, and the decision was made. Earth's deadliest warships would leave orbit. They would follow the call. Within days, the fleet prepared. The flagship Iron Resolve stood at the center, its hull dark silver and bristling with weapons. Around it, cruisers and destroyers formed a shield. The engines hummed with power, ready to cross light years. Crews boarded, leaving their families behind with heavy hearts but determined spirits. The launch was broadcast across human colonies. People watched in awe as the ships aligned. Some were proud, others fearful, but all understood that history was turning. Humanity was no longer waiting for others to reach them. Humanity was stepping into the unknown, answering a call that might change everything. As the fleet moved into jump space, Admiral Holt stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve. The stars stretched and bent as reality shifted. She looked out at the vastness and felt the weight of what lay ahead. "Set course for the source," she ordered. "We follow the signal." Her officers obeyed without hesitation. They knew their mission was dangerous. They knew they might never return. But deep inside, each of them carried the same thought. For the first time, it felt as if the galaxy itself had called upon humanity. The signal continued to echo through the fleet's systems, repeating the same message in broken words and codes. It was a cry of desperation, a message sent with hope that someone, anyone, would hear. And humanity had heard. As the warships cut through the dark, the question hung unspoken in every mind. Who had sent this call? Friend or foe? Lost kin or cunning enemy? No one knew. But they were determined to find out. The journey would take weeks. During that time, the crews trained, checked their weapons, and strengthened their resolve. Yet in the quiet moments, many wondered if this mission would lead them into the greatest discovery, or the greatest danger, humanity had ever faced. For now, the only certainty was this: Earth's warships were on the move. They carried the power of a united planet, the courage of countless generations, and the stubborn spirit of a species that had always refused to surrender. And as the engines roared through the endless night, Admiral Holt whispered to herself, "If someone is out there, they will know humanity has answered." The call had been heard, the response had begun. The fleet of Earth's warships pushed deeper into space, guided by the strange signal that pulsed across the void. The journey was long and silent, broken only by the steady rhythm of the message echoing through their systems. It was like a heartbeat in the darkness, reminding them of why they were here. Admiral Vera Holt stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, her eyes fixed on the star map glowing before her. The signal's origin was now clear, a dying system at the edge of known space. The reports described it as unstable, scarred by battles. Even from this distance, sensors picked up fragments of debris floating between the stars. The crew grew restless. Each day, questions spread in hushed voices. Who sent the call? Were they alive? Were they dangerous? But no one dared to speak too loudly for fear of inviting doubt. The only certainty was that they were heading into a place where death had already passed. When the fleet finally reached the edge of the system, the view took their breath away. Before them stretched broken planets, their surfaces cracked like shattered glass. Whole moons had been torn apart, their pieces drifting like grave markers. Burnt wreckage of ships, alien ships, floated in endless silence. It was a graveyard of war. By the stars, one officer whispered, unable to stop himself. The sensors came alive with warnings. Countless derelicts drifted near the entry point, some still carrying dangerous energy charges. Admiral Holt ordered the fleet into tight formation. Drones were sent forward to clear a safe path. The humans had seen war before, but never on this scale. This was destruction on a level that chilled even the most hardened soldier. The signal led them deeper, past the shattered worlds, until they found it, a massive structure orbiting the ruins of a dead planet. It was an alien citadel, ancient and scarred but still standing. Its surface glowed faintly with broken shields, and strange towers reached into the void like the fingers of a fallen giant. The fleet approached carefully. Suddenly, lights flared across the citadel. Automated defenses came alive. A barrage of energy beams shot outward, striking one of Earth's escort cruisers. The ship shuddered under the impact, alarms blaring as its shield strained to hold. "Return fire?" asked the tactical officer. Admiral Holt raised her hand. "No, hold fire. They are protecting themselves." Instead, she ordered electronic warfare teams to disable the turrets. Within minutes, human systems overrode the ancient defenses. The guns went silent. The path was open. A boarding team was dispatched. They crossed the gulf of space and entered the Citadel's dark corridors. What they found stunned them. Inside were survivors. Thin, pale, and weary aliens who had been hiding in the fortress for years. Their skin glowed faintly in the dim light, and their eyes were wide with fear and exhaustion. When the humans spoke, the aliens hesitated, but when the boarding team played back the distress signal, the survivors collapsed to their knees. Relief filled their faces. The call had been answered. Through translators, the truth began to emerge. The survivors were part of a once great people, now broken by endless war. Their enemy was a species called the Kraith, ruthless conquerors who spread across systems like fire, leaving only ashes. The Kraith had destroyed their fleets, shattered their planets, and hunted their survivors to the edge of extinction. It was they who had sent the signal, not knowing if anyone would hear. They never imagined humans would come. Back aboard the Iron Resolve, Admiral Holt listened as the alien leader, a frail figure named Arakai, spoke through translation. "We thought no one would answer. For so long we have hidden, waiting for the end. If you have come, then perhaps there is still hope." Her officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some whispered that these aliens were too weak, that helping them would only drag humanity into another war. Others argued that humanity had been given a chance to prove its strength and its heart. Admiral Holt looked at Arakai and said firmly, "We do not run from the unknown. If the Kraith threaten you, then they threaten all. Humanity has faced wars before. We will face this too." Her words settled the debate. The humans would not turn back. They had come to answer the call, and they would not abandon those who had sent it. Yet even as relief spread among the survivors, the fleet's sensors gave a chilling warning. Movement had been detected at the edge of the system. Ships, large, fast, and many, were approaching. The Kraith were returning. Alarms rang across the fleet. The peaceful silence of discovery was gone. War was coming to the shattered system once again, and this time humanity stood ready. The warning came with sharp urgency. The Kraith ships had entered the system, their signals flashing like cold fire across the void. They were not scouts or raiders. This was a war fleet, powerful and disciplined. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, the air grew heavy as officers reported the numbers. At least 20 warships. Their designs were sharp and menacing, with jagged hulls that looked more like blades than vessels. The Kraith ships were larger than most human cruisers, and they moved with frightening speed. Admiral Vera Holt studied the display. The humans had fewer ships, but they had something else. Centuries of experience fighting wars against themselves. Humanity had been hardened by its own violent past. While the Kraith relied on sheer strength and fear, humans relied on strategy, adaptation, and determination. "Form battle line," Holt ordered. Her voice carried calm authority. "Protect the Citadel at all costs." The fleet shifted into position. Cruisers moved to the front, destroyers to the flanks, and the Iron Resolve at the center. Their weapons hummed with power. The alien survivors inside the Citadel watched from their broken towers, hearts filled with dread. No one had ever stood against the Kraith and lived. The Kraith wasted no time. Their fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Bright lances of energy cut across space, striking against human shields. A destroyer shook violently under the impact, its hull glowing from the heat. But the ship held. The humans fired back. From the Iron Resolve, a barrage of missiles streaked into the void, exploding against the enemy's armor. Energy cannons roared, tearing holes into the first Kraith cruiser. The void lit up with fire and debris. Humanity had drawn first blood. On the Citadel, the survivors gasped. Never before had they seen an enemy ship fall so quickly. For the first time in years, hope flickered in their hearts. But the Kraith were far from broken. More ships advanced, their weapons pounding mercilessly. The battle became chaos. Explosions flashing, ships twisting and turning, shields flaring under heavy fire. Human crews worked with fierce focus, calling out orders, repairing systems, and firing every weapon they had. Inside the command bridge, an officer turned to Holt. "Admiral, their numbers are overwhelming. If they break our line, they will not," Holt interrupted. Her eyes were steady. "We are not fighting only for ourselves. We fight for those who called to us. Hold the line." Her words spread like fire through the comms. Across the fleet, captains repeated them. Crews tightened their grips, determination replacing fear. They were outnumbered, but they would not retreat. The battle raged on. 2 human destroyers took heavy damage, drifting powerless. But their sacrifice bought time for a counterattack. The Iron Resolve led a strike group forward, tearing into the Kraith flank with relentless fire. One by one, enemy ships began to falter. On the Citadel, the alien leader Arakai spoke softly to his people. "They fight as if the stars themselves guide them, perhaps this is why the call was answered." Still, the Kraith pressed harder. Their largest ship, a massive dreadnought, entered the fight. Its weapons fired with the force of a collapsing star. A human cruiser was split in 2. Its crew lost in the blaze. The sight shook even the bravest hearts. Admiral Holt knew the humans could not match the dreadnought in raw power. But she also knew the Kraith's strength was their arrogance. They expected enemies to flee, not to think. She turned to her tactical officer. "Divert power to forward shields. We'll draw their fire." The Iron Resolve surged ahead, placing itself directly in the dreadnought's path. Enemy blasts slammed into its shields, shaking the ship. The hull groaned, alarms blared, but still it pushed forward. "Target their command node," Holt ordered. Precision weapons locked onto the dreadnought's exposed section. A storm of fire erupted from the Iron Resolve. Explosions rippled across the enemy ship, tearing through its armor. At last, the dreadnought shuddered and fell silent, its massive frame drifting powerless into the graveyard of wreckage. A cheer rose across the human fleet. The Kraith, stunned by the loss of their mightiest ship, hesitated for the first time. Seizing the moment, humanity struck back with full force. Missiles and beams tore into the remaining ships. One by one, the Kraith began to retreat, vanishing into the darkness from which they had come. The battlefield fell quiet. The void was filled with drifting debris and burning wrecks. Humanity had stood its ground. Against all odds, they had driven back the Kraith. On the Citadel, the survivors could barely believe what they had witnessed. For them, the Kraith had been unstoppable, a terror that no one could face. But the humans had not only faced them, they had fought them and they had won. When Admiral Holt addressed her officers, her voice was strong but measured. "Today we proved that humanity does not fear the darkness. We are not here to conquer. We are here to stand where others have fallen, and we will not fall." Her words spread across the fleet and then to the Citadel. The survivors who once doubted now looked at the humans with awe. Suspicion still lingered, but respect had been earned. Yet Holt knew this was only the beginning. The Kraith would not forget. They would return stronger and more determined. And when they did, humanity would have to be ready. For now, though, the fleet held the field. The call had been answered, the line had been held, and a new chapter in humanity's story had begun. The shattered system had fallen silent after the first battle, but Admiral Vera Holt knew it was only temporary. The Kraith had retreated, but they were not defeated. Their numbers were vast, their hatred deep, and the Citadel remained their prize. Humanity and its new allies had only bought time. The fleet held its position near the Citadel, repairing damaged ships and reinforcing shields. Humans and alien survivors worked side by side. A fragile alliance formed under fire. The aliens, who had once doubted the humans' intentions, now watched as the Earthships demonstrated their precision and strength. Arakai, the alien leader, spoke to Holt through the bridge communications. "Our defenses are weak. If the Kraith return in full force, we may not survive. We need your guidance," Holt nodded. "We'll hold the line. But we must act smart. Strength alone will not save the Citadel. We need a plan that uses every advantage we have." The humans began to map the Citadel's surroundings, studying asteroid fields and debris. Using the environment, they created traps and ambush points. Smaller human ships would hide in the debris and strike at the Kraith before they could reach the Citadel. Meanwhile, energy mines were deployed to force the enemy into predictable paths. Weeks passed and tension grew. Every day the fleet scanned the edges of the system, expecting the Kraith to return. The alien survivors watched quietly, learning human strategies, their hope slowly returning. Then the warning came. A massive Kraith fleet had entered the system, larger than before. Their dreadnoughts led the charge, followed by fast assault ships and endless swarms of fighters. The calm of preparation turned into the chaos of imminent battle. "Battle stations," Holt commanded, her voice cutting through the hum of the bridge. "Protect the Citadel. This ends here one way or another." The Kraith advanced, energy weapons blazing, tearing through the debris. Human destroyers intercepted them, drawing fire and buying time. The smaller human ships darted through the asteroid field, striking from hidden positions. Every hit was precise, every maneuver calculated. The Kraith were strong, but the humans' cunning and coordination surprised them. Admiral Holt directed the Iron Resolve toward the heart of the enemy formation. Her plan was bold. She would draw the dreadnoughts into a trap while Allied ships focused on protecting the Citadel. The flagship's engines roared, and the dreadnoughts turned to intercept. Energy blasts slammed against the Iron Resolve's shields, shaking the massive ship. Crew members worked tirelessly, rerouting power, repairing damaged systems, and keeping weapons online. Every human on board knew the stakes. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the fleet and the Citadel would be lost. From the Citadel, the aliens watched in awe. Humans moved with purpose and courage, risking everything for those they had only just met. The old fear in their hearts began to fade. Perhaps these humans were not like other species they had known. Perhaps they were something new, something extraordinary. As the dreadnoughts closed, the trap was ready. Hidden batteries of human missiles fired in coordinated volleys. Energy mines exploded, forcing enemy ships into narrow paths where human cannons awaited. One by one, the Kraith ships faltered, but the battle was far from over. The largest Kraith dreadnought, the flagship of the fleet, broke free of the trap and turned toward the Citadel. Its weapons unleashed a storm of energy, cutting a path of destruction. Human cruisers intercepted, but their shields were failing under the onslaught. Admiral Holt realized that to save the Citadel, she had to take the biggest risk of all. "Prepare for direct assault," she said. "I'm taking the Iron Resolve straight at their command ship. All remaining firepower focus on me and the dreadnought." The crew braced as the flagship surged forward, engines pushing beyond normal limits. Energy blasts struck from all sides, but the ship held. Missiles streaked from human destroyers, striking the dreadnought's hull. Cannons fired precise beams at exposed systems. The dreadnought shuddered but remained in the fight. Inside the bridge, Holt's voice was calm but resolute. "We will not fail. Humanity answers the call and we do not turn back. Fire everything." A storm of human firepower converged on the enemy flagship. Explosions tore through its armor. Systems overloaded, and at last the massive ship broke apart, drifting powerless into the void. The remaining Kraith vessels, leaderless and confused, began to scatter. The Citadel remained standing. Cheers echoed across the fleet and the alien defenses. Humanity had not only survived, they had won. They had proven their courage, their intelligence, and their unwillingness to surrender. Holt addressed the fleet. Today we defended more than a citadel. We defended hope. We have shown that humanity will fight for what is right, no matter the odds. This is what makes us strong. Arakai's voice came over the communications, filled with gratitude. You have saved us. Your courage has rekindled hope in a people who had none. We will never forget what you have done. Holt nodded quietly. She knew this victory was just the beginning. The Kraith would return one day stronger and more prepared. But humanity had set a standard. They would not yield, they would not run, and they would protect those who could not protect themselves. In the quiet that followed, the fleet repaired and regrouped. The citadel stood tall against the stars, a symbol of what unity, courage, and intelligence could achieve. Humanity had faced impossible odds and answered the call. The battle for the citadel was over. For now. The battle for the citadel was over, but the echoes of war still lingered in space. Wrecked Kraith ships drifted like silent tombs, while the human fleet hovered near the citadel, keeping watch. The survivors inside the fortress, once fearful and hopeless, now moved among the ruins with cautious optimism. Humanity had answered their call, and hope had returned to a people who had almost given up. Admiral Vera Holt stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, looking at the quiet stars. The battlefield was littered with debris, but there was no time to celebrate. She knew the Kraith would eventually return, and humanity had to be ready. But for the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel a sense of pride. They had faced the impossible and had not faltered. Arakai, the alien leader, approached her on the bridge. His voice was soft but full of gratitude. Your people, your fleet, they have done what no one else could. You have saved us when all hope was gone. Holt nodded. We did what we had to do. We cannot stand by while others are in danger. That is who humanity is. The aliens were still weak, their ships few and damaged, but they were learning quickly. Under human guidance, they began to repair their vessels, study human strategies, and prepare for the day when they might defend themselves without help. Humanity had not only fought for them, but had also shown them the strength that comes from courage and cooperation. As the days passed, the fleet scanned the system. The Kraith had retreated into the dark regions beyond the outer planets. They had not been destroyed, only delayed. But humanity had sent a message across the stars. They would answer a call for help, no matter the risk. In the quiet moments, the human crew shared stories of the battles, of fear turned into courage, of strategies that had turned the tide. Younger officers asked Holt how she remained so calm under pressure. She smiled and said simply, "We fight because it is right. Fear is natural, but courage is choice. Humanity chooses to stand." Back on the Citadel, the alien survivors began to rebuild. They repaired communication systems and opened new sensors to scan the surrounding space. For centuries, they had lived in hiding, always afraid, always running. Now they looked to the stars with hope, knowing that allies existed beyond their own kind. Holt gathered her senior officers for a final briefing before leaving the system. "We've done more than fight a war," she said. "We've built trust. We've protected lives, and we've proven what humans can do when we act together. Remember this lesson. The galaxy is wide, full of danger, but also full of possibility, and humanity will always rise to meet it." The fleet prepared for departure. The Citadel was safe, and the alien survivors waved as the warships aligned for jump space. As engines powered up, the bridge filled with the hum of anticipation. This was a journey not just of distance, but of purpose. Before leaving, Holt transmitted a message across the galaxy. "To all who hear this, if you are in danger, if you call for help, humanity will answer. We do not stand alone, and neither should you. Stand with courage, and we will stand with you." The signal echoed into the void, traveling across light years, carrying a promise that would not be forgotten. Humanity had not only fought a battle, they had begun a legend. As the Iron Resolve and the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, the stars stretched and bent, leaving the shattered system behind. For the first time in generations, humans felt that their place in the galaxy was not just as explorers or conquerors, but as protectors. Their strength came not only from weapons or ships, but from heart, intelligence, and courage. In the days that followed, the crew reflected on what they had seen. They had faced a terrifying enemy, seen destruction on a scale they had never imagined, and yet they had survived. More than that, they had given hope to others. For many, it was a lesson that humanity's true power lay not only in its technology, but in its spirit. Back on Earth, news of the fleet's mission spread slowly through colonies. People listened with awe as reports of human courage, strategy, and unyielding determination reached them. The story of the fleet and the Citadel became a symbol of what humans could achieve together. Even as the fleet moved toward new missions, Admiral Holt knew that this was only the beginning. The Kraith would return, and other challenges awaited across the stars. But humanity had proven itself. They had answered a call that echoed across worlds, and in doing so, they had left a mark that would be remembered for generations. Holt looked out at the bridge, her crew busy at their stations. She smiled quietly. Humanity had answered the call, protected the helpless, and proven that courage and determination could overcome even the darkest threats. The galaxy was wider than anyone had imagined, but now humans knew their place within it, and somewhere, across distant stars, someone or something was listening, knowing that if they ever needed help, humanity would answer. The call had been answered. The legend had begun. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy as protectors, warriors, and hope-bringers. The future awaited, bright with promise, and the fleet surged forward into the stars.